Just go. But you hold it. Just go.
Okay. That's me again. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. My name is Karanbir, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about AI and what's going on in the world today, and how that makes a difference. Oh, and we are back. So essentially what is happening right now is that AI is eating up most concepts of things that we take for granted, right? As practitioners, you guys would know that we spend a lot of time on fundamentals, right? And we take things for granted when we work through those fundamentals. Like, you assume that there is a platform and the platform works in a particular way. Guess what? AI changes that. We assume that there are capabilities that we can lean on. Guess what? AI changes that, right? But that's not the only thing. It also changes how we approach our problem domains. What outcomes are we looking for, and how do we get to those outcomes completely goes away. So in some ways, you could almost think that everything that you guys are doing today as config-focused practitioners is building dead. I know that sounds horrible, but that is the reality that we're looking at. And here's where the things get really exciting as well, because the worst situation you can be in is that you are brought into an ecosystem after it is mature. But guess what? AI isn't. The landscape today is actually better than what it was yesterday, and is worse than it is going to be tomorrow, right? And so for our leaderboard, we've got 4 contestants. 3 of them you've probably heard of, and the 4th one is something that I created from the other 3, right? None of them are very old. The oldest on here, if you will, is the DeepSeek thing, which kind of changed the world a little bit, right? So let's do something. Let's ask a model to give me an Ansible manifest that helps me contextualize 20 VMs and get something going. And I look at it and I say, well, you know, it kind of looks okay. It's kind of fine. Okay, so I scored it, and DeepSeek is slightly ahead of the rest, right? Let's do it again. This time, let's do it with Puppet. Let's do it with Terraform and Bash, right? Why not? Bash is a language too. And the scores change a little bit, right? Not a whole lot, but you see that O3, the OpenAI one, is doing a better job. My watch is telling me there's a storm coming. So we've got the scores. What happens now if we can take the output from one model, feed it to the others, and get the others to score each other, and do it 5 times, right? Ask it about different questions about, you know, how can you secure somebody else's model? How can you make it more performant, etc. And here's something that happens. Ansible is more or less at the same space, and I don't know why my fine-tune is worse, because I've tuned it on Ansible quite a lot. Puppet, O3 is still up there. Bash, Elvis has left the building at this point, right? It doesn't matter, because it has gone to a point where hallucination has taken it over, right? Okay, so now we have the manifests. Can we now take the manifests and have the models build us a monitoring plan? Kind of, we get something, not a whole lot. But let's do something more interesting, right? The models know why manifests were created in the way they were created, and they've had a chance to evaluate each other. What if I now inject it into a webhook and try and see if it can give me some smart feedback, right? And I want you guys to look at my right, your left, right? Focus on the stuff that you get for free. This is a model that has only been doing this work for a few minutes at this point, has no background, only its own context. It can tell you about significant change based on the fact that it knows why the data came up, right? Now, putting that into a scoring system, regenerating the whole stuff, you can see that Mistral, for some reason, seems to know Ansible really well. I don't know about the others. The things are leveling out. And I've given Bash a score, although at this point, the Bash stuff is completely unusable, right? Now, does it run? I've got something. Can I apply it? Can I put it on AWS, right? I am not running the Bash stuff. Like, it is so terrible that there is no way I'm running it. I run the others, and amazingly, I get usable infrastructure. I get to find and satisfy the pieces that I care about, right? Great, stuff is running. Now can I ask a running model to take a look at my running infrastructure and say, hey, what can you do for me for cost? What can you do for me from a monitoring standpoint? And I think the best way to paraphrase this is, I asked the computer, and the computer said no, right? But the dimension you got to think through here is that we've now introduced a third-party fact, right? And it doesn't know how to handle that because it's not generative anymore, right? So in the monitoring space as well, as you saw, the numbers are not the same, but it's low enough that it doesn't matter, right? One big thing that comes up, and pretty much everybody I previewed this initially said, you know, what about code completion? What about tab complete? It doesn't matter. Just do whatever works for you, whatever your company policy is. So many of them, Claude comes in, Phi comes in, the Microsoft stack comes in. They're all pretty good. Just do whatever, right? Right, so here's the other part of it. Everything that I have done to get to this point is available to you. The tools are available, tools are open source. What I would recommend is that when you do this for yourself, also consider things I didn't, right? Because the end result is that the models are actually starting to get to a point where they don't matter. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Their capabilities are about the same. My local fine-tune is a bit better. But the fundamental thing to take away over here is that models today are at a point where they can help you, right? And the piece that I want to close on is that config management, DevOps, was not created by people who are selling you products. They're not created by people who want to sell you content. The whole movement hangs on the back of practitioners like you guys. So go build, because the world is changing and you are going to be the people who change it. Thank you.